Okay, good morning, everyone. We are here in the seventh episode of the test chat, which is supposed to be an informal chat, but today we are having somebody who has volunteered to present on a very interesting topic. We have our friend Sunny Bhatia, who volunteered to speak about Docker, and he's got something really interesting to share. So, without wasting any more time, let me welcome Sunny. Hi, Sunny. We can see you. You can switch on your camera, your mic, and you can start sharing your screen.
Okay.
Uh,
Hello, everyone.
over,
Thank you, Rajesh.
over to you, Sunny.
Okay, thank you. So, hi, everyone. So, welcome to the Saturday morning session on Docker. I know it's a bit too early for most of the people, so only we have 7 attendees out of so many people in our group. So, that's not an issue. So, whosoever joined will gain something out of this session. So, before starting the presentation, I would like to have a small quiz. That's a kind of a feedback. I wanted to know how my audience is well aware about Docker. So, I'm sharing a link on the chat. If you can just open it and vote for the option. I can see the votes are coming in. Okay, we have the voting. I'll share the results. Okay, so there's a mix back. 17% says that I do not know about it. It means one respondee, and another one says that I know about it but used in the past. And mostly two people fall in one of these categories, and first and third option, they know about it and currently using it. And another one is that they know about it but never used it. Okay. Okay, that's cool. Okay, before moving ahead, I would like to know if you wanted to know like how the Docker images are being organized. I can show you that also. You can just type in the chat.
Yes, please.
Okay, fine.
I just thought unmuting was easier, so I unmuted. So if you can just show that.
Okay, fine. That I'll show that. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So what is Docker? Docker is actually a product as a service platform that delivers software in a package called containers. So whatever we use in like this is a bit differentiated from the virtual machines. So this has been, I can say, in order to remove the problems that we are facing with the virtual machines, we have the community has come up with the concept called Docker, and the software that actually hosts the containers which are actually running machines is called a Docker engine. Okay, now moving on further, what is a Docker image? A Docker image is something which is actually, I can say, an app that is holding your libraries, your binaries, your configuration files, and so on. and it is the same Docker image that we are actually using it for running our for doing our work. And how it is actually being built. So it is a built of series of layers, and each layer represents a command that is written in the Docker file. Like, as you can see below, there are 4 commands written from Ubuntu 15.04. Then we have the copy command, and then run command, and then we have the cmd command. So each of these command is actually representing a layer in the Docker image. And all these commands are just, all these layers I can say are read only. They are, when we just build the Docker image, they are just read only. We can just read them. We cannot write to them. If we wanted to write to them, we have to run this Docker image. So as soon as we run the Docker image, another layer gets created on top of these layers. So the first layer will be from, then copy, then run, and the last layer will be cmd, and it will be like the bottom to down. I can say in the next slide like this. So here's the first layer, from image, from, then copy, then run, and then cmd. And as soon as we run the Docker image, a writable layer, a read write layer gets created on top of this image. That's actually a container layer, which is actually help us in reading the file, in reading the data from the Docker image, and then we can further use it. Like whatever the image is meant to be meant for, we will use that image in terms of this through interaction of this container layer. So this is how the layers are being organized in a Docker image, and they work like this. Like the data always flow from top to down. I hope it makes sense.
Sunny, one question.
Yeah.
Is it same for Windows as well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So if it is clear, I can move on to my actual topic.
Sunny, just one more question. So
Yeah.
this is actually like Chandan asked. This is platform agnostic, right? It can be for Windows, Linux, or whatever.
Yes.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm coming back to my original presentation. Okay, so there are some notions which are revolving, which are just there in the community about the Docker images. So I just wanted to reveal their true natures, what is all about. Okay, the
Sunny,
first notion. Yeah,
run this as a slideshow. Yeah.
yeah, I'm running in that only. No, okay, maybe slideshow is not visible.
Yep. Now we can see.
Okay, fine. Now the first notion which is there in the community for the Docker. So they say that if the Docker image is small, then it will consume less disk space, because each we have in a layer, in an image we have some layers, and each layer is actually a command, and when we run that command it will take some space. So there's a notion around this. Another notion says that if we have a larger image, then it will take more time to upload on the internet, as well as more time to take to download from the internet. So these are just two main notions around the Docker images. So I have a question. Are both these notions true? I can say that certainly no. Now, how to prove this that these notions are not true? So what I have done, I'll show you a practical demo of this. What I'll do, I'll just create one image, and from that image, using the same image, I will create another image. So the second image will have some part of the first image, and apart from this, it will have its own layers also. And I will see, okay, if I just use both these images, what are the sizes of these image? Are they share some size, or are they having a unique size? So just to break these notions, I will demonstrate an experiment to you. So as you can see in the image, in the presentation, there's one base Docker image that I've created. It contains two commands, from and run. So what I've did, I've just download the latest Alpine, and I've just run it through a from command and then run APK update and APK upgrade. I'll give you a demo of also, but let me quickly go through these slides first. So when I have the Docker image created, it's better to show you a demo. It will make more sense to you. I hope my screen is visible with the terminal open in the background.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Okay, I have already created these two Docker files for one of my base image and second Docker file utilizing the same base image file. So I'll just show you the contents of that. First, I'll show you the base Docker file, what is there inside that. So it contains two commands, from Alpine latest and run the APK update and APK upgrade. Now this is the second Docker file in which what I have mentioned, first command says from base image. It means whatever I have in the base Docker file, I'm just utilizing that. So it says from base image 1.0. Then I have additional commands only suitable for this second Docker file. So that sets the environment path for the Python and then the volume for suites and libraries. So now I'm building these images. Let's see what happens. Okay, so now base image has been built. As you can see, for every step, it allocates ID to that step, and that will be a unique ID. Like I run the from Alpine latest, that was in my first Docker file, so it got this ID. And after that, when I run my second command, it got this ID. And this last ID will be the actual ID of this doc image file. So it's FF06, something like that. Okay, it's successfully built. So maybe it is running the last step also, removing the intermediate container. So this ID I've got for this. So this is the actual ID of this Docker image. Now I'm building my second Docker file. So the first step is utilizing the same command from that. Maybe Docker does not exist. Okay, pull access denied for base image.
Sunny, you have made a spelling typo. Like while creating the image, you have given the name as base image colon 1.0, not base hyphen image. So you need to either edit it again.
Okay.
So the image name that you have created is base image and not base hyphen image.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Thank you, Amadan, for clarifying. That is just a typo.
Okay. I'm built my first image. Now I'm going to build my second image also. Thank you for that. So now as you can see that my second Docker file has also been built and we have got a Docker second image. So these are the steps 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the last steps is the ID of that image. Okay, now I can see my Docker images. Docker image ls. Okay, I have these two images. This is the ID of the base and this is the ID of the Python image, which is actually created on top of this. And you can see that the size of both these images are 9.2 MB. So, but this does not clarify that if the what those the notions were resolved or not, were they break or not. So I need to dig more onto that. So what I will do, I will just run one more command, docker history. I'll take the history first of this base image. Okay. After for running the history of this base image, I can see that some commands is there, like this we can ignore. This is not does not make any sense over here. This is my first command from Alpine latest and the ID was this, and this is my second command. I can see that first command does not take any space, whereas the second command takes this space, 3.64 MB. Okay, now let me run my Docker history for second one. Okay, here you see that note these two IDs, A24BB and CCO2C. So when I run the history of the second base, second Docker image, I can see that it is built like this, like A24, then CC. It means these commands are being utilized from the base file. So it just utilizes that. And after that, it runs 3 additional commands for setting the environment Python path and volume. And these are the IDs for that. But this also does not give me, this also does not make any sense to me right now for breaking those notions. So what I will do now, I will see that how much disk space is actually utilizing by these images. So for that, I have one command, docker system df. It shows the disk space utilization. And in order to see a detail, I can use a verbose -v. I just full screen it. Okay. Notice the first two rows, these one. Both the size of the images are 9.211 MB. And the good thing is their shared size is also the same. It means that I built my base image using a particular command, so I got the size of 9.211 MB. When I use the Python image and I built just on top of the base image, I got the same size. So it means now they're utilizing the same shared size. So the disk space is actually utilized over here. And same applies to the multiple Docker images which are available on the internet. Like when we just download an image from the Docker, we just built on top of in our machine. So using that, whatever the disk space get allocated to that image, that will be fine. And when we just built another image on top of that, we are just actually utilizing that same Docker image. And so the shared size also gets the same for that. So this reveals that there's a concept of sharing the sizes by the Docker images. If they have not been sharing the size, if they are unique in their own way, then their unique size will be something. But here the unique size is actually 0 bytes. So this clearly indicates that they are now sharing the sizes among themselves. So by this experiment, I can say that those notions were actually not true. Means if the Docker image size is small, then it will consume less disk space. And if the Docker image is very large, then it will consume more disk space. No, both these notions are not correct. I hope I am able to make my point clear.
Yes.
Okay, I can heard only one yes. I think people does not get me right, or maybe they have some doubts.
No, Sunny. People are typing in the chat as well. Sorry.
No,
Okay,
no. Feel free to ask your questions. Just unmute and ask Sunny.
yeah.
So this size will remain constant for irrespective of the Docker image all the times.
If you are not changing the Docker file, then it will remain constant. As soon as you add any command in that, the size will change, and that will depend like if you add any command in which Docker image you are adding the command, either you are adding the base image or in the Python image. So accordingly, size will keep changing. But the main point is that they are just sharing the same size.
Okay.
So this is all what I wanted to demo through this session. Just a quick session. Just like if anyone asks you, maybe in the company or anywhere else in the interview, like tell me about the Docker images and the sizes, how they're actually being used, and how they share their sizes. So this is the concept. We can say that.
So what is the logic that people use when they say that okay, when the size is big, the image size is big, the Docker would be big. So do they have any reasoning or it's just a misnotion people have?
Actually, this is a preconceived notion that is coming from the virtual machines. Like in the virtual machines, we have a concept of hypervisor. I can just tell you briefly, like there's a host operating system. On top of the operating system, we have the hypervisor, and on the top of the hypervisor, we have the virtual machines. So earlier, the concept was hypervisor was a software that was actually running those VMs. So people were saying, yeah, and this was actually true, that each virtual machine will take some size. So that's true. That's fine. And the same notion was carried over onto the Docker also. But in the Docker, there's a different concept. We don't have the hypervisor. We have the container engine that is actually running on a VM. We have the operating system layer. Then on top of that, we have the VM running, and on top in the VM we have the container engine, and that container engine is actually managing all these containers, which is actually the running instance of the Docker image. So people are again believing that if we are running the image, then it will take some space, and it is the size is, if the Docker image file is small, then it will consume less disk space, and if this is it contains many more commands, it will going to take more space. So that notion was coming actually from there only.
Okay,
And
so I
Docker
have
is
never used. Yeah, sorry,
okay.
go ahead.
Yeah, please continue.
Okay, so I have not used it. So as we said that that Docker is something like it can host something, right? So there is an application you can put it there. It can run without any dependency in there, right? So suppose if I have a big application and a small application, so if the Docker portion can host or contain the full application, so if the size of the application is big, so where does we keep all the files and all? For example, to take an example, maybe suppose there is a simple screenshot tool and there is an Eclipse, for example, an application. I'm not sure whether it can be done or not. So if you are hosting these two in a Docker that they can run independently, so a small tool compared to a big tool, so where all those files of that tool are put in Docker, so if they are of same size.
Like
It makes sense.
I just tell you that we are actually putting all the binaries, configurations, and all the running things which we need at the runtime in the Docker image file. So we just mentioned in the form of a commands, like we need to download from this image file, and we need to run these commands, and so on, so on. So by utilizing that, we are just creating a kind of a container, and that container is actually very lightweight container. We can we can distribute that container also, provided the container cannot be distributed as it has to be converted to a Docker volume. So that's another concept for maintaining the persisting data. But right now, keep in mind that container is actually a running instance of an image. So when we are running our application, all the binaries, all the configurations associated with the binaries, and that utilizes those binaries, are put inside one instance, and that instance gets run, and we call this as a container. I hope I am able to make your point clear.
Okay, so if you can take an example of an application, because for example, I'm considering a heavy application, for example, like Eclipse, which I want to run in a container, compared to a very small application with just open and create maybe some wallpaper and all. So if you see that maybe the Eclipse can have a 500 MB kind of software or the things it does, and the other application is 1 MB. So where are those 500 MB? Because whenever you run an application, some methods and logics would be called. So that application is 500 MB, other is 1 MB. So if I run that kind of thing, is it possible at application level? If the question is making sense.
Okay, I will say that why you want to run the Eclipse in a Docker. You just run the binaries in the Docker. You can have a separate development environment, and in which you are building the code and you are just compiling. And once you have the jar ready, or in the form of a .NET, I can say a DLL is ready, just put it inside the container, and that will be your application. So when you run the image, the application will gets on running inside the container. Means I'm
Okay, so
trying to
basically,
segregate. I'm trying to segregate the
hmm
environment. Like, I will not run Eclipse in the container. What I will do, I will just take one development environment where I will put the Eclipse, all the configuration that I wanted to do, all my code, and I will build it. After building, whatever output I'm getting, I will just put it inside a image. And when I run that image, it will be called a container, and then I can distribute this container. So if people want to use, okay, this is a server, this is Apache server, this is an Nginx server or SQL server or any server, just use this image and run it. So it contains already the predefined code in that, in the form of compiled jars or binaries.
Okay. So what if the compiled jar size is big for one software and small for other one? So when we run the Docker, it will the image that would be created that would be of equal size. You meant to say.
No, that will not be of equal size, because both these images Docker file commands are different. So whatever the size they are taking, they will take on their own. But as soon as there is a dependency or there is an interlinking between these images, which I've shown in the demo, that I have taken one base image in which there are two commands, from and command, run command. And second image I have taken, in the first line I've just mentioned from base image 1.0. It means I'm not going to mention again the from Alpine latest. If I just show you right here. Okay, this is my base image. I mentioned one command in that, mentioned two commands in that. And this is my derived image, in which I mention first line from base image. So it means I'm not mentioning again these commands in my Docker file. I'm just utilizing this image, first image, in my second image also. So here is a kind of an interlinking between them. So if there's an interlinking, then obviously they will going to share some size. If there is no interlinking between them, if all these commands are just different, if I have not mentioned from base image what I'm building this second Docker image file, then there would have been a unique size for each of these images.
Yes, Sunny. So the notion is not completely true always, right? So if they are
Yes.
just linking, that's the when the notion what you are telling is not applicable. But in other cases, when they are completely independent of each other, then obviously the notion is correct.
Yes, in that case, notion is correct. But when there is a like people always say that, oh my, this is my Docker file. I have the suppose for
Yeah,
example,
I
I
can
will
completely understand. Yeah.
okay. Just to clarify one more thing, like I can say that on my system there is one Docker image that is already running. I have all the contents of that Docker image. I try to download one more image from the Docker from the internet. Okay, if I say that, oh, this Docker file is so much big and this will going to take more space. If I have on my system the contents of that Docker image file already in my another image, then it will not going to take much space as mentioned in that the first image. It will going to utilize as soon as I download the second image from the internet, it will utilize first from my local, and then it will say, okay, I have got some content, I have already got the content on your machine in the Docker images that I can utilize for this downloaded file. So I will try to utilize that and I will make it shared, and then after whatever left is unique, I will make it deploy for you. So in this case we are just interlinking those images.
Yeah, now I'm getting it because of the shared image. I think a lot of space we can save, and then it won't be true, right? The bigger sizes always take bigger thing.
And it one
Thank
more
you.
thing, like I just wanted to mention, it also depends on the type of a driver that we are using, because there's a driver that actually utilizes the power and keeps on interacting with the layers. So the way it reads, the way it writes also depends, also contributes to this image size. So the type of the driver we are using by default is overlay 2, if I can say, just show you. Sorry. Must be something over here. Yeah, storage driver. So this driver actually specifies few more stories. Like there are three type of drivers I have just used: AUFS, overlay, and overlay 2. So it also tells us how the big Docker images will be. So this also contributes in the image size. This is just another topic. I'm just giving you a brief over on that. So I'm done from my side. I'm open for other questions also.
Okay, thank you so much, Sunny. Any questions? No questions. Interesting.
I think the people have got it completely or they have not got it anything.
I was going to say that. So how many people have understood everything? I think since there are no questions, I guess everybody has. So now, Sunny, it's your turn to ask them questions. Pick up names and just start asking questions. I'm just, I'm just saying.
It will be kind of a classroom session. Okay, now stand up, tell me the answer.
Well, yeah, so these technical topics, some people don't get it in the first go. Maybe people will
Yeah,
look at the recording and realize, okay, this is what it was. Maybe a
right.
second look will give them some more ideas. So let's stay optimistic about that. This is an open invite for everybody on the call to pick up similar topics and present. Uh, you can speak for half an hour, 40 minutes, and share your knowledge. So I want to thank you, Sunny, for doing this. I learned a lot. Okay, this was something that, the first slide that you showed and you asked about the Notion. Well, I although I got to learn that a little later, but when I started initially working with Docker, that was the impression that I had. Okay, down the line, of course, I understood that no, that is not true. But then now I know, and you've just reaffirmed my knowledge. So thank you for validating that and some useful insights. I personally learned a lot. I will obviously, in the course of processing the recording and uploading, so I'll watch this video a few times. So I will learn more and more every time I watch it. And since now I am in the host mode, I will obviously watch it as an audience to get a more clearer glimpse of what was going on the screen. Okay, so I'll see it on a bigger font and things like that.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
all advantages for me.
Hey Brijesh, hey Sunny, sorry, I joined a little late. I really wanted to join this session, but it was like, there was one other conflict. I joined bit late just for the intention, just to acknowledge the effort Sunny has put on. So thanks, Sunny. I'm definitely going to watch the recording. Again, I'm repeating that, I joined late, just so that I can acknowledge your effort, and I'm going to repeat, watch this video, and if I have any questions, definitely I'm going to ask you. And thanks, Brijesh. As usual, you have been you're doing a lot of good work. In fact, the entire team, you know. So sorry, I won't be do justice if I ask the question, because I missed majority of the sessions. So definitely I'm going to watch it again and share my feedback.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, it reminds me of that famous Bollywood song, "Aaj din hai kitna sunny sunny," because two sunnies were talking. So, anyways, cool. Yeah, I definitely encourage everyone else to see. I know it is difficult on a Saturday morning, especially these sessions are a little early. The reason for keeping them early is to free you up for the rest of the day. That's why that you get done with your session, and then throughout the day either you process the information that you've gathered, or spend time with the family, and then maybe come back and revisit it. And that's the reason why I normally schedule these early in the morning on Saturday. I understand it is difficult for people, but who likes easy things, right? You should have some difficulties. Okay, having said that, we have about 17 minutes remaining in the call. So is there any other subject of interest that you would like to talk about?
Just maybe
It's
I'm
open.
going out of the context, but from Sunny, I want to know, in your project, right? In what capacity you are using Dockers, and how do you also use Kubernetes to manage the the Docker for the Docker management?
Okay, in my project right now we are not using Kubernetes. We are only using the Docker, and same concept we are using over there. We have some images that are being built, and we are just utilizing that for running our automation test on that.
So when you say automation, are those like UI based or API based?
It's a API based test.
Okay,
So,
I think I can safely assume that those are microservices, right?
Right.
So I have a question here, Sunny. So what is so in your entire CI/CD pipeline? What are you using as your repository tool? Are you using something like Artifactory, Nexus, something like that, or is it something else? How is the setup? The pipeline.
The CI/CD pipeline is on Jenkins. So we have a Bitbucket. We just pushed into that code, or developer builds something in their base code, then it triggers our pipeline, and then for the triggers, then it runs our test and reports back as the result.
Oh, okay. So you are managing the whole thing through Jenkins.
Yeah, right. And right now we are in the process of setting up a real-time dashboard in that, so that actually we can see reports in runtime, maybe using a Grafana or InfluxDB or MongoDB. So we are in the process of setting up that also, because right now our pipelines, we have some automated test. If I can say, we have another example I'm taking. We have 136 UI test that takes around, for desktop application I'm talking about, it takes around 55 minutes to actually run on that. So
Okay.
for that, as soon as our tests are increasing, the time is also increasing. So now we are trying to find out how we can actually optimize it in better way. Maybe there's not
Yeah.
a kind of a system like the which web has, we can just run it in the background, but this is not in the case of a desktop application. So we are thinking that how we can actually make it more optimist.
Okay. Okay. The reason why I asked you that question is because yesterday I came across. So I was discussing something with a colleague, and I came across a setup where they are talking about a whole CI/CD pipeline, and they want to manage the entire life cycle using GitLab. Uh, but as an as a repository, they are using a combination of Nexus and Docker. Docker, of course, for the containerization, and Nexus as the repository tool. And beyond that, they have Jenkins, of course, running as the you know for building and for automating the whole thing. And then they
Okay.
have for the UI tests, they have plugged in they have a bunch of UI tests to be done. So they have Selenium taking care of that. So that's their current setup. Now they are investigating how they want to get deeper into API tests and things like that. So that's where the conversation was going, and I thought it was good to understand the whole setup, because from a not just from a container perspective, but from an entire repository perspective, because there they have in that repository they have their tests, they have their results, they have their reports, they have the containers, almost everything. Okay, so everything is managed through the repository tool, and as a result of which I came to know about Nexus, because I only knew Artifactory so far. So another new tool. Good to see that. Good to learn. I have still not gone deep. Yesterday, I just saw a demo and I said, okay, this is good. Maybe in the next few days, I'll go a little deeper. So I thought maybe
So
I
Brajesh,
should share.
there can be different implementation, right? So one of the implementation that in our project, what we do is, am I audible?
Yes, 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 Sunny.
So what we do is just for the CI/CD, we since we are using Java, we packaged our entire automation solution. Both from the API point of view as well as the UI Selenium. So we package them into a jar, and then instead of giving the entire code base, we package them into a jar, convert them into a custom image, and that's what the DevOps guys use it. So they don't use our source code, they don't use it, they just directly use the our particular automation image.
That's
Okay.
how we need to
Once,
do it.
because if they use
I think that's a
Yeah, just Docker run and the image name will run
yeah.
the
Okay.
test. Yeah, yeah, it's a way to go,
Yeah.
Bridges. What Sunny told, it's how we need to, do automation, because gone are the days where clients are not asking about their automation things, but nowadays clients are even interested to start the tests, right? So if you build your automation test in a form of images, right? They just need to install Docker. Whether you are using Python or Java or PHP, that doesn't matter. So they install Docker and then they run the simple command Docker run, and whatever the image name that you have pushed to the Artifactory, and the test starts running without any issues. So that's how they want it to be, and that's the way to go as well. And
Yeah.
one more point, regarding the Selenium UV test, you want to do a live dashboard. I did it using ELK stack. You have images for Elasticsearch and Kibana. I've set up the dashboard in Kibana, and it was really really good. So because our test will take 4 hours to complete, and sometimes testers forget to do some configuration, and after 4 hours we realize, oh, we missed to do one config, so entire test got failed. Again, we need to rerun it. But now, with the help of this, maybe after we watch the test for a little 10 minutes and check whether 2 or 3 test cases got success, and then we leave it to run, right? So that's very interesting as well. You can definitely try that as well.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, Brijesh.
Yeah.
At
Yes.
least
So,
I can hear you.
yeah. Okay. So I lost a bit of audio in the last couple of seconds or so. So I think no, I completely agree. Now the setup that we were discussing yesterday was for a very complex projects with multiple teams working on multiple microservices, and they wanted everything in one place, and they wanted to create a dashboard out of it, and that's why the whole repository thing came about. I personally thought that it was a little complex, but then I'll obviously have to learn how they handle that complex setup. But having said that, I think it'll be a good idea, Amutan, if you can, take a session in the next maybe few weeks time, and explain a little more about how easy you are making everybody's life through the way you are testing. So it'll be a good idea to have a session from you. We all
Yeah,
look
I
forward
can
to
I
that.
can do a session on how to integrate ELK with your Selenium test maybe. So that's where it
Awesome,
can
awesome.
be
Yeah,
used.
yeah,
Yeah, I can do
yeah.
that. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
That'd be great. Okay, so we'll work on the dates. I know that a lot of things are getting planned, and I'm just making a note of everything. So sessions are getting lined up one by one. I'm still working on the dates for the risk assessment, risk analysis session. There are some proprietary things which I was thinking of showing, but then I may not show them. But then I still thought that okay, let me just talk to people and talk to the customers and see if I can use a more sanitized version of what we had done, so that you get a feeling of a real time example. So I'm still having that negotiation. My mails have gone. I just received one response, but that they will look into the legalities and tell me. So I'm still waiting for a confirmation. Having said that, if that's too much of a hassle, then I'll work something else out. I will be working with Ramit sir on that, and we'll have a session somewhere in the middle of November, is what we plan to do. Apart from that, do we have any other questions or any other topics that you want to just chat about? Nothing?
So Brijesh, I would like to thank you for providing me an opportunity for presenting my case and for sharing my knowledge.
Well, Sunny, this is your platform, so anytime, most welcome. Whoever wants to share, this is your platform, guys. Just reach out to me and say, okay, I want to talk about this, and go ahead and do that. I know a lot of you guys who are here are working on some really cool things. So we've seen the other Sunny also present in conferences. So maybe it's time for him to do something for us exclusively for the TTC group. Um, so yeah. So okay. So let's do this. Let's all switch on our cameras if possible, and let's take a group photograph. Okay, if that is. Okay, Janam, Jyoti, Sunny, just turn your cameras on for a minute.
Okay, British, I was not prepared for this, but I'll open up.
No, I know that's why I like to catch people by surprise.
Yeah, give me a second. How does this work? Oh, it's asking me to share. So I have to click share.
No, don't click share. Click on the
Okay,
camera.
so why I
Click
did
on
that,
camera.
but I did. It's not opening.
Yeah, I think you have to click on share after that, and then it will share.
Okay. Is that, oh yeah. This-
Okay. Jainam, you're the only one missing. I think he slept off. Put this thing on mute and slept. No, just kidding. Okay. Anyways. All right. Happy to see all smiling faces. Small group, but good for sharing knowledge. Once it goes on YouTube, more people will see. So thank you so much, Sunny, for spending time on a Saturday morning and presenting and sharing your knowledge. Thank you so much, everyone else, for joining in and listening to what Sunny had to say. We hope to hear more ideas from you guys. Chandan, I know you are starting to do some really cool things. So I am eagerly waiting for your session. Okay, you wrote a long thank you note for everybody, talking about all the cool things that you are doing. So we want to see all of that in action. So we'll look forward to some presentation from your side soon. Jyoti, I know she told me that she's working on something cool, so I'll wait for her, to come out and see when she wants to present.
Yes,
And
yes, Brijesh.
yeah,
I would surely do that. In fact, I
thank
wanted to
you for
attend this session. I was somewhere else attending some other session. So I wanted to understand about Docker volume. I think Sunny might have covered that in this session. So I'll share that. I'll see the recording later and I'll reach out to Sunny in case of any questions.
that would be a good idea. That's a good idea. Okay, yeah, and yeah, of course, you see the recording. You want to leave a comment on the YouTube video so that Sunny can see and then he can respond. You can do that, or you can use our channel to ask your question so that more people understand that they learn from there. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining in this morning, and hope to see you all next time. So until next time, bye bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you, Brijesh. Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
Sunny. Thank you, everyone, for joining.